Peace to the 12, man. Y'all see the title, The Black Jews of Medieval Europe. I'm going to say that one more time. The Black Jews of Medieval Europe. Now, this is basically going to be me going through probably 6 books probably. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna link another video in the comment section that you guys can watch. It'll be longer than this one, that goes more in detail on this subject. It's gonna be an hour and 6-minute video, and I'll link that in the description. But anyway, I'm gonna go through 2 books that I recently got, and then I'm gonna go into some other books that go alongside the narrative, proving the point. So let's get into it. We're gonna start this off at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good. All right, so yeah, we prove all things on this channel. Everything I say has receipts. All right, I don't just say stuff. So let's get into the first book by a guy by the name of Yaakov Shavit, or Shavit, however you pronounce it. Yaakov Shavit is an emeritus professor at the Department of Jewish History. Tel Aviv University. Has main fields of study are the history of modern Israel and modern Jewish intellectual and cultural history. Shavit has also written about the Afrocentrism movement in the African American community, and he was born in 1944. He's actually still alive, 80 years old, in Haifa, Israel. He's over here focused on Afrocentrism. Worry about Amalek. Nonetheless, this right here is called History in Black African Americans in Search of an Ancient Past by Yaakov Shavit. We're going to go to page 182. We're going to see what he says. Check this out. In medieval literature, a theory prevailed. Meaning this was a prevailing theory, meaning this theory had some weight. It was a lot of people believed it. In medieval literature, a theory prevailed in which the Jews were part of the black race, or were at least dark-skinned. A number of bizarre examples were brought forth as proof. One was that because Jewish religious law commands the coitus take place in the dark, Jewish children are born with dark skins. The image of the Jew as dark-skinned fits in with the image of the southern Mediterranean type. Indeed, the Jew practically became the prototypical Mediterranean, small, black, and hairy all over. The image of the Semitic Mediterranean Jew as black occupied a significant place in both popular and learned anti-Semitic literature of the 19th century. Some, like the Houston Stewart Chamberlain in Foundations of the 19th Century, described the Jews as an admixture of Negro blood with Jewish in the diaspora of Alexandria. So as you can see, in medieval Europe, you had a lot of people believe that the Jews were part of a black race. Now this guy's stance, as well as the next guy's stance that I'm going to pull, well, not the next guy, but the book after the book, the third book I'm going to get, their stance is that, they just believe this. They used to say the Jews were black because they believed them to be bad or, dark or mystical, malignant and stuff. But no, they believed them to be black because you had so-called black Jews in Europe. And I'm going to prove that later on in this video. But I just wanted to say, so here's my first source. Medieval literature, theory prevailed in which the Jews were part of the black race. Right? Negro blood. Let's go to the next guy. This is a guy by the name of Tudor Parfitt. I've actually used him before. He's a British historian and writer, broadcaster, traveler, and adventurer, and he specializes in the study of Jewish communities and Judaism communities around the world, particularly in Africa, Asia, and the Americas, and development of issues about the construction of race. So this is Tudor Parfitt, historian. We're going to go to his book, Black Jews in Africa and the Americas by Tudor Parfitt. All right, we're going to go down to here. I should have put the page number. Maybe it's page 4. Anyway, we'll go down to here. It says, a long European tradition. And this is passed down. A long European tradition maintained that the Jews in general were certainly black metaphorically. Now, what does metaphorically mean? Metaphorically means a figure of speech, or in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which is not literally applicable. So sometimes it was metaphorically, but check this out. A long European tradition maintained that the Jews in general were certainly black metaphorically, in the sense that they were diabolical and evil, as well as black literally. What does literally mean? In a literal manner or sense. Exactly. Verbatim. In a way that uses the ordinary primary meaning of term of expression. Where we're at. Used for emphasis or to express strong feeling while not being literally true. So literally means it means that they literally thought they were black. Like they thought they were black. They believed them to be black skinned. As well as black literally. One Christian critic of the supposed Jewish Pope, Anacletus II, elected in 1130, hinted that Jews were generally regarded as dark when he noted that the Pope was dark and pale, more like a Jew or an Arab than a Christian. Sir William Brereton, 1604-1661, the English parliamentarian soldier and writer, happened to visit a Sephardi synagogue in Amsterdam, where he commented that the Jews were dark-skinned, very dark-skinned, and lascivious. They were most black and insatiable, given unto women. In his new voyage to Italy, 1714, Francois Maximilian Mission, 1650 to 1722, the French writer and traveler, confirms that the general supposition was that Jews were black when he noted that all Jews were black, although only Portuguese Jews started off black. Right? So these are multiple writers saying that the Jews were black, right? And like I said, later on, I'm going to show you guys things about that, talking about London and as well as Portugal. So anyway, let's continue on. We're going to go to the next book, which is a guy by the name of Abraham Melamed. Abraham Melamed, or Melamed, however you say it. He's a professor of Jewish philosophy in the University of Haifa in Israel, and holds the Wolfson Chair for the study of the Jewish culture heritage. He's also 80 years old, and he was also born in 1944. So both of these guys, this guy as well as this guy, were born in 1944, and they're both 80 years old, and they both come from Haifa, Israel. Interesting. Anyway, we're going to go to his book, The Image of the Black in Jewish Culture by Abraham Melamed. We're going to go to page 31. We're going to go down to where? Here. Once again, it says, a strong European tradition dating back to the Middle Ages. Middle Ages means what? The medieval period. Dating back to the Middle Ages, maintain that Jews were black, or at least swarthy, and find sharp expression in modern anti-Semitic literature. Medieval Christian iconography frequently shows the contrast between the black figure of a synagogue and the white one of a church. The distinction was applied to the Jew in contrast to the Christian of Northern Europe. So this is a third guy who is documenting that there was a big European tradition in the Middle Ages that Jews were black. Now, once again, he's trying to frame it like, oh, they were just saying this to be anti-Semitic. It didn't mean they were literally black. No, it meant that literally. It meant that literally. And we can actually go all the way back to the Roman times where the Jews were believed to be black Africans. All right, here's a Roman historian by the name of Tacitus. Tacitus was born in 55 A.D. He was a Roman historian and politician, widely regarded as one of the greatest Roman historians by modern scholars. In his book, The Histories of Tacitus, page 399, this is written in 70 A.D. We go down to here. It says, many assert that the Jews were an Ethiopian race, driven out by fear or hatred to seek a new home in the reign of King Cephas. So, all the way in 70 AD, many people were already asserting that the Jews belonged to an Ethiopian race, meaning what? A black African race. Right? Here's also a historian, an Israeli historian by the name of Bezalel Narkis. He was an Israeli art historian. He was awarded the Israel Prize for his contribution to the field of Jewish art in 1999. Bezalel Narkis, born in 1926. And this is in his book. This is what he says the Hebrews look like in Egypt. This is what he says the Hebrews look like in Egypt. As you can see, you have the afro. You have the dark brown skin. More pictures of the same book. The afro, the dark brown skin, the black afro. Right? Now, anyway, I'm going to end it by going into the other books. Here are some black Jews spotted in Europe to once again solidify this belief. Right? So we're going to go to the first book, which is by a guy by the name of Thomas Birch. Thomas Birch was an English historian born in 1705. And we're going to see what he had to say in his, and he was also a keeper of books at the British Museum. We're going to see what he had to say in his book, The History of the Royal Society of London for Improving of Natural Knowledge from its first rise, in which the most considerable of those papers communicated to the Society, which have hitherto not been published, are inserted in their proper order. The Philosophical Transactions by Thomas Birch. We're going to be going into Volume 4. Volume 4. We're going to go to page 141 of Royal Society of London. Page 141. We're going to go down to here. Okay, now mind you, this is taking place, this account is from 1682 to 1600s. So we're out of here. It says, it was likewise urged that there are many of the Jews, black, who yet are very strict in not mingling with other nations, and that Europeans, by continuing to inhabit in Africa, have been found to turn black, and that blacks in England, after a few generations, become white, and that wild asparagus, which is very small and sticky, being planted in gardens and hiding with dung, become large and soft. I don't know why you put that last part in there. Anyway, as you can see, he says the Jews were black, right? Or he says many of the Jews black. All right, and they refused to mingle with other nations. They were strict to not mingle with other nations. And the Europeans, when they go to Africa, they eventually turn black. Yeah, it's talking about people that mingle themselves. But notice, the Jews were remaining black because they refused to mingle with the other nations. Let's go to another book that speaks on the same thing. Maximilian Mission, which is what that other historian quoted earlier. Let's see where it was at. Where he said that Maximilian Mission from 1714, New Voyage to Italy, talked about it. Yeah, we're going to get that account right here. So this is Maximilian Mission, his book, A New Voyage in Italy, with curious observations on several other countries, as Germany, Switzerland, Savoy, Genoa, Flanders, and Holland, in the 2 volumes, the 5th edition, with large additions throughout volume 3 or 4. We're going to go to page 139. That's what he has to say. 'Tis also a vulgar error that the Jews are all black, for this is only true of the Portuguese Jews, so he's saying the Portuguese Jews are black, who marrying always among one another, begat children like themselves, and consequently the swarthiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race. So once again, he's saying the Portuguese Jews were black, and they didn't want to marry among the other nations. They didn't want to marry the so-called white Europeans, right? Now, of course, there's a law in Deuteronomy that talks about that. I mean, it's always warning us against doing it, even though our people did it all the time. But, for example, Deuteronomy 7:1, but 3 is what I want. But Deuteronomy 7:1 talks about how there were several nations that the Most High told our people not to have children with. When the Lord Yahawah thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou, and when the Lord Yahawah thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt not make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Right? So we're not supposed to have our children marrying these other nations. These nations in particular is what it's talking about. Because as we know about Ruth the Moabitess. We know about how Solomon's son, Rehoboam's mother, was an Ammonite, I believe. There are many examples. We know Moses married an Ethiopian as well as a Midianite. We know that, my point is made. Nonetheless, for they will turn, and he's going to tell you why we shouldn't have these unions. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. For example, right, let's say that I get down with a Buddhist chick from, I don't know, from Malaysia. Say I get down with a Buddhist chick from Malaysia, right? And now she's gonna have my damn son wearing prayer beads, praying to damn Buddha, man. Right? Shaving his head and living in the mountains somewhere. Trying to find damn enlightenment. So they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Right? So let's get 2 more books. The Critical Review of Annuals of Literature, Volume 57 by Tobias Smollett. And he's going to once again talk about the black Portuguese Jews. This is going to be on page 400. Excuse me. It's going to be on page 141. King John II in 1492 expelled all the Jews to the island of St. Thomas, which had been discovered in 1471. So he expelled all the Jews, meaning he kicked them out, he deported them. And to the other Portuguese settlements on the continent of Africa. And from these banished Jews, the black Portuguese, as they are called, and the Jews in Luango, who are despised even by the very Negroes, are descended. Right? So the black Portuguese, he's once again letting you know that the Portuguese Jews were black. And they even got sent to Africa. They got sent to St. Thomas, and they got sent to the coast of southern Guinea. All right? So now we're going to go to Andrew Bryce, who documents this. He's from 1690. Andrew Bryce, an English printer and writer. His book, The Grand Gazetteer of Topographic Dictionary, page 622. Check this out. He says, the people inhabiting the banks are partly Biafers and idolaters, partly Mandingos and Mohammedans. The Portuguese have a factory of the banks. The village contains near 4,000 inhabitants. These are 4,000 people, among whom not above 10 to 12 or 12 families of whites. There's only 10 to 12 families of whites. The rest are all tawny or black, though they style themselves true Portuguese. So clearly he ran into the Portuguese Jews. He said they styled themselves true Portuguese, and they were tawny or black. They were in Africa, and they were still saying, yeah, but we're Portuguese. These are the descendants of the Portuguese Jews, obviously. So anyway, like I said, man, this is the link I'm going to send, the Black Jews in Early Europe. Because I did a bigger video on this. Like I said, it's an hour and 9 minutes. It's called Black Jews in Early Europe on my channel. I did it a year ago. But I'm going to link it in the description, so don't worry about it. So, yeah, man, you know, that's the video, man. The Black Jews of Medieval Europe with receipts as always, man. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. And once again, I want to say peace to the 12. And I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Heavenly Father, Most High Yahawah, the name of His only begotten Son, yahawashi. Yahawah is the name of Heavenly Father of the world, commonly called God. Yahawashi is the Savior of the nation of Israel, the world, commonly called Jesus Christ. I want to say shalom, which means peace. To you people out there listening and learning, you brothers doing this work, truth, sincerity. And to you elders that's been doing this thing before me, man. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Go on. Peace, shalom.